Today we're going to look into teams in Archibus, particularly team space. That is the team associations with rooms, as teams can also be associated with people. So within the space console, you'll be able to see teams if you go into your view settings and select show teams. Once you've done so, you'll be able to see under the occupancy tab, you'll see teams alongside employees, and in your highlights, you'll be able to see a few options for team associations. So we're going to look at the teams highlight here. The first thing you're going to need to do is define your teams. So you can go into the little plus here and add them, creating your team code, your team name. If you're looking for target seating ratios, you can set that. Set a highlight pattern or color so that you can see your teams on the floor plan. Set it to active, and then optionally you can designate their function, category, and description. So once you have set your team, you will see them here. If you do not see them here, you can click the little filter icon and uncheck apply filters. By default, it will filter to teams that are associated with the building that you are on. So you would uncheck that to see all available teams to assign. And a little safety tip is that there is also a field to define the whether or not the team can be needs team space. So if that is set to no, then you won't be able to see and assign those teams here. And also if those teams are associated with rooms, it will not show here. So that can be very useful if you've got certain teams that are only associated with people and not associated with space. But by default, any team that you create this way is going to be designated for needing team space. And then to assign those teams to rooms, you go down and click the little assign button, and it will then load the occupancy view. So this is going to show you the occupancy capacity of your spaces so that you can plan, because team space is often used in conjunction with looking for available space and assigning it to teams. Teams are a concept that is entirely separate from your organizational hierarchy, so your departments and your divisions, but allows you another category to give you a little bit more flexibility in space planning and space visualization. The other important thing to know about teams is there's a temporal component. So when you're assigning teams, you're assigning them for a certain period of time, and that entire history is going to be logged. So that means that you can assign teams and update them by ending that time designation, or you can plan ahead. So by default, when you open this, you're going to see this that's telling you the date that you're highlighting from. So it's going to be today's date with no end date. But if you know that you're planning for the future and you want this to start next month and last 3 months, you can do that planning ahead of time. And then when you're coming in here and looking at your team space highlights, in the advanced search at the very bottom, you'll find a team as of day field. So you can select a different date if you're wanting to view a different day's data. So whether you're looking in the past or looking in the future, you can view your teams as of specific moments in time. So planning for today, in this case, I'm going to click on these rooms to assign to my selected team, which is marketing branding, and I'm going to commit. So once I've done so, it is going to take me out of this team planning view and back to the highlight that I was on, which is the team's highlight, so I can see that those changes that I've made are here. If you are also using SpaceView, SpaceView also has access to team space. So this was updated in in 2024 to be aligned with the new team space designations in Archibus. So it will use the same tables and the same date fields to track this. So I'm going to refresh here because I was on the 18th floor. I'm going to head over to the 18th floor, and then you can see the team designation that I had just made there. So you can work in either, and they have different functionality based on what tools you need. So in the uh, SpaceView side, you aren't setting specific dates. So if you're planning for 3 months from now, you're going to actually be doing that slightly differently in SpaceView, which is planning different scenarios, not planning in the future. So if you're planning in the future, you're going to want to use, or if you're going to be planning across multiple floor plans at the same time, you may want to use the Space Console. But to be able to assign to any type of room, so you're not limited to occupiable rooms, and you can do bulk assignments. So I'm going to select a different team, and I'm going to go select multiple rooms, and I can select a large chunk of the floor plan if that's going to be assigned to my team instead of assigning individual spaces. And you can also remove assignments as well if you kind of overwent on that. So that gives us our team assignments, and I can then go over into and refresh this floor plan over here, and I can see what I've added. You will notice that that last room that I unassigned in SpaceView is still showing there because when I unassigned it in SpaceView, the active date that it was assigned to it was the end date of that team planning was today. So it's still considered active when you're looking at it in the Space Console here for today's date. So I will want to then go and look at tomorrow's date in this case. And if I bring that up again, and I can bring it up with the 17th floor just to be, oh, I had them in the other order. So I'm going to bring this one up and bring this one up just so you can see that that large room is now not highlighted. And let's just make that a little bit bigger. So now both are in line because I'm looking at tomorrow. So the other piece to know in the SpaceView side is that SpaceView has team space scenarios. So this is different than the future planning that you can do in the Space Console, where you're setting, I know in 3 months they're going to occupy this space. I'm planning into the future. This is planning multiple scenarios where you do not know which one. So if you're giving multiple options, you want to save multiple options for your team, you can do that. So you can create as many scenarios as you want. So you can go like phase 1A, option 1A. And when you're creating it, you can either clone it from your current live team definitions. You can have a completely blank scenario where you're assigning all of your teams from scratch, or you can clone it from another scenario. So if you're doing a multi-stage project, or you plan slight nuances, you can plan one and then copy a different one that has and make those small tweaks without duplicating work. So I'm going to clone it from the current live definition and go in and let's look back on the 18th floor. And then I'm going to say that I want IT support in this scenario is also going to be in these spaces. So that is my scenario, and you can come in here and look and print from this view as well. Once you are confirmed that you want that to be live as of today's date, you can overwrite production with your scenario, and that is going to update your current team allocation. So if I go into my 18th floor again, I'm going to see in our live definition, yep, there we go. We've got our IT support. And if I refresh it in the Space Console, I should see the same thing. There we go. The highlight patterns also, if you create a team in one and assign the highlights, it's going to be the same colors across both applications. So you could use both for planning depending on what your needs are. There's different printing options in either. And your there is SpaceView highlights for this. Oops, I'm going to go back to the 18th floor is the one I've been doing my planning on. And I'm going to go to look at team space, and I can see that highlight. I can see the rooms and the square footage assigned to it. If you have hoteling, you can view team space with hoteling. We've got those hotel rooms identified. And then there's also team space with capacity. So you can see the total capacity and then assigned rooms and the employee count. So if you're planning your teams that way, you can see that. Similarly, in the Space Console, in the Teams tab, there is a compare team room statistics report, which then allows you to see as of specific dates, whereas SpaceView we're looking at today, in all cases, you can plan for specific dates here and see statistics. You can do it by room category, type, or standard, and view active teams only to then see those values about your teams. So that is an overview on TeamSpace. Both Web Central and SpaceView also have an employee team component, which is using those same teams and associating them with employees to view just for general awareness.